Hello, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's virtual community meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please make sure you mute your audio and turn your video off. We record these conversations, so if you leave your video on, you'll then become videoed into our recording. To center the person speaking, please manually right-click your mouse and choose Pin. If you have any questions, please either click on the speech bubble icon to type your question or send an email to info@skidrow.org. Just a reminder, the chat feature should only be used to ask any questions for our speakers and not to conversate with other viewers. Now for tonight's agenda. First, we'll be addressing food security with California State Assembly member Miguel Santiago. Then we'll cover This Week at the Trust with Lee Regis. Then we'll have Daisy Serrano of Milpa Grill, followed by Mario Valenzuela of the Weingart East Los Angeles YMCA. Finally, we'll have Cesar Almendarez of the Adventist Health White Memorial. We'll then cover details for next week and the Q&A. With that, I'd like to introduce Lee.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us on our Skid Row Housing Trust virtual community meeting. One of the key items that I want to point out is when we started these meetings, it really was in response to sharing information that was happening within our community, letting you all know what was going on with our residents, with our employees that were on the front line, and really trying to create an interactive environment to communicate our needs to you and for you to have a way to respond to those needs. So we're really appreciative of the time that you give to us on a week-over-week basis, but more importantly, a lot of the actions that have been taken and the collaborations that have been created out of this is just, it's extraordinary during this time, and we are really grateful for what has happened to us up to this point, what's happening currently, and definitely what we have scheduled over the next couple of weeks. You know, I'm really excited and honored to present the speakers that we have this week. I have the opportunity to introduce Assemblyman Miguel Santiago. He's been a longstanding partner of our community. He's been very dedicated to housing and the community at large here in Skid Row. He's been an advocate for a lot of the around housing, the advocacy of what it's like to create solutions for this problem, for creating creating solutions to remove the barriers for real estate development. And his team's work has been absolutely extraordinary. About a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Miguel Santiago and his team actually heard a need from these calls as it related to resident programs and services. As everyone knows, there's a food insecurity challenge, and it's particularly heightened during this time, during the COVID-19 timeframe. And him and his team stepped up and made sure that not only a collaboration, a short-term collaboration was created, but that prepared meals by a lot of community members were created so that we could deliver prepared and food package kits to our residents, in particular the residents that live in our SRO buildings in which they couldn't use their community kitchens anymore. So he has, and his team has helped on so many aspects related to homelessness and creating the solutions to those challenges that it creates. I at this time would like to introduce Assemblymember Miguel Santiago. He represents California's 53rd Assembly District, which includes downtown Los Angeles, Boyle Heights, and other surrounding areas. In the legislature, he has fought to eradicate homelessness, build affordable housing, make 2 years of tuition-free community college a reality, and holistically improve the lives of all his constituents. He currently serves as the chair of the Select Committee on LA County Homelessness and the Assembly Committee on Communications and Conveyance. He also sits on the Health, Higher Education, Public Safety, and Utilities and Energy Committees. I'd like to introduce Assemblyman Miguel Santiago.
Hi, Lee, and thanks for having me today. And thanks to the entire Skid Row downtown and surrounding communities who are participating today. I really got to say, I'm incredibly blessed to have the team I have and to have the partners in our neighborhood who have really made this project successful and others. So I really want to give credit to you, your team, and everybody else who's on the line. And I'll give you a big picture overview of why I think we're blessed to be in California as opposed to other states. Very quickly, what we've done, and then when the rubber hits the road. In the state of California, we immediately passed March 16th a budget bill, and it was $1 billion that we gave to Governor Newsom, and $100 million that was immediately given to schools. And this was really critically important because if you take a look at the rest of the country, there is a difference between the way that California is leading and a difference in the way other states are falling behind, because it's given the governor broad ability to do the work that he's doing because we gave him those bills with a framework of what we wanted done to immediately attack and give results during this COVID outbreak. And a good example of that was the first $150 million that was released just 2 days after we'd sent up a budget of $1 billion. And that allowed for what we saw in the region, about $41 million immediately infused in the LA region to address the issue of housing and homelessness. And of that, roughly about 19 million went to the city of Los Angeles, and a good portion of that investment is within our communities. Of that, you may have also heard there was about 1,300 trailers for temporary housing. The city of Los Angeles got about half of those. So that's a direct result. You may have also seen the St. Vincent Hospital for emergency care. Some of the work that you've seen around the neighborhoods as it relates to healthcare is a direct impact of what we passed at the state with historic speed and momentum. But where the rubber hits the road, we knew that night wasn't enough. We came back to our districts and we got hard to work on doing casework, constituent casework management, and really trying to link up our residents to everything that is connected to a resource, be it federal, be it city, be it state, even at a time when we knew that unemployment benefit requests were up 500%. So it's been challenging. We ask our constituents to be patient, but we are doing all that we can, and will continue to be aggressive in having people reach out and get as many services as possible for our district. Now, what's critical too is the way in which we've collaborated at a district level, and this is really impressive. About that same weekend, we got a call from the YMCA that we had that there was an effort to try to feed seniors who couldn't go to the store. I think we started off somewhere between 40, 60 bags of groceries that we were trying to give and delivering to seniors' homes because that was the most vulnerable population. And it was very difficult to see that seniors didn't have the ability to get food. And the YMCA, along with volunteers from White Memorial, along with volunteers from Milpa's restaurant, and along with volunteers from the White Memorial and USC, got together and really started building up a program that now feeds between 3,000 to 4,000 people on any given day, from pre-prepared meals to grocery bags. And now, starting this week, as a result of one of these virtual town halls, as I'd like to say, started feeding close to 550 folks in permanent supportive housing. So we are listening, and we are working with our partners like Skid Row Housing Trust and others to address those issues that are most pressing in our community. And I'd like to stress one more time that as a result of that first meeting that you had last Thursday, we were able to, and I have a good team and a very good district director who was able to put together immediately a meeting together to try to figure out how do we do this, and it came together very nicely. Now I know the following speakers will point to this a little bit more in detail, but we had a local restaurant which we're very proud of, a gem in Bow Heights, named Milpa's Grill, who stepped up and has been cooking for those in need in the Skid Row Housing Trust community. We have the YMCA, who has been hard at work now for over a month, helping with groceries and making sure that the food stuff is available. We've had donations coming from just about across all over California. And likewise, we've had White Memorial and others step up. So I'll let it move on, and now would like to introduce Lee Ragos, the CEO of Skid Row Housing Trust. And thank you very much for having me here today.
Well, thank you, Assemblyman Santiago. Can't express enough like the gratitude that we have, and our residents wanted to also extend their gratitude for the collaboration in the team that was brought together to make sure that there was food that was delivered to them this week. I am going to be turning it over to the person that actually made this a reality in just a couple of minutes, but I do wanted to point out why this is so important. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did, because of some of the information that we had, was to make sure that we addressed food insecurity as a whole. And the geographic area of Skid Row allows for the accessibility of food. So getting food delivered in is very important, very key. And one of the things that this team, this collaboration team, did was absolutely key and critical. And when the slide comes back up, what you'll be able to see is there are about 5 to 6 different organizations that made this particular initiative this week and moving forward a reality. So key items that Skid Row Housing Trust wants to do to facilitate not only for our own residents, but for the community as a whole, is we identify the needs. So we hear what our neighbors that still live on the streets say. We listen to what our current residents are providing feedback to us on, and they predominantly lie around food and hygiene kits. So there's been, as identified earlier, a pretty strong response as it relates, to getting us the supplies needed for that. So communicating the needs is key, creating the solutions is key, but actually executing on the solutions that we identify is the most important. We need partners, we need resources, we need supplies. And this team that you're hearing from today, starting with Assemblyman Santiago and going through the rest of the speakers, they're the ones that made this a reality. Not only, again, like I said earlier, not only for today, but going forward in the future. So with deep gratitude to our collaborative partners, I would like to turn this over to Daisy in just one second. At the end of each of my sections, I always want to make sure that I call out, action points. Like people often ask, how can I help? What actions can I take? What are some of the things that I can do to help support those in most need during this time? Obviously, make a contribution and gift. Now's not the time for us to be shy to ask for donations. So we always want to make sure that that's front and center of everyone's minds. Advocate for the community, the currently homeless individuals that are still out on the street, our residents that are housed, advocate to those that can actually create solutions like those that you're hearing today. When you purchase something on Amazon, that wish list, it connects back to us. We are in our final stages of the virtual volunteer programs, and we'll be publishing that information for those of you that have signed up. And join our mailing list and share this information to those in your family and friend network. And with that, I am going to turn this over to Daisy Serrano. She's the owner of Milpa Grill that actually has made sure that all the food got cooked and distributed this week. So at this time, I'd like to introduce her and again, say thank you very, very much to Milpa Grill.
I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. So just a little bit about Milpa. The restaurant was based on the staple crop back in Mesoamerica, which is southern part of Mexico, Central America, and South America. And Milpa is really the place where the three sisters grow corn, squash, and beans. And so we decided to dedicate this restaurant, bring healthy options to the community of Boyle Heights. And then, with that, we just partner up with YMCA, White Memorial, and then we did a few events in the past. And I think that's what made it so easy for us to take action and execute so quickly in a matter of days, right? So last year, we did the Thanksgiving feast alongside with Miguel Santiago. He was doing the turkeys in the front while we were feeding about 500 individuals from the community in the back. So everything was happening all in one event, which we're super proud of. And again, this was a collab between YMCA, White Memorial, and Miguel Santiago. Then we're talking about December. Came along and we did the toy giveaway. Same partners. It was White Memorial, YMCA. We had USC Civic Engagement at that time, and a lot of the local restaurants, a lot of the local businesses came along and on board. And again, it was just a matter of days. It was a planning. Things came up, but because we've done this before and we have that relationship, it was super easy again to execute what we did in a matter of days, and now we're feeding 550 people on a daily basis, and hopefully again continue to do so. I'm just very proud of it all, and I'm just excited to be with you guys. And there's a need. There's a need, and we decided to take care of it, and that's just what it's about. And the fact that all these members, you guys, we have the same vision. It's just beautiful. So thank you for having me on board. I'm very excited to be a part of it, and let's keep going. Let's keep helping. And so thank you. So I guess at this point I'll take it over. I'm going to introduce. We're sharing a computer, guys. So we're going to introduce over Mario Valenzuela. He is Executive Director for the Weingard East Los Angeles YMCA here in Boyle Heights. So give me a second. We're going to switch over. Okay, guys?
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Daisy, for that lovely introduction. So I'm Mario Valenzuela, Executive Director of the Weingard East Los Angeles YMCA. And well, this started a little over a month ago. As you recall, on March 20th, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti issued a safer at home order calling for all non-essential businesses in the city to close. That very next day, we repurposed our YMCA to serve as a logistic hub for sorting and food and distributing food and supplies. As Assemblymember Miguel Santiago was actually here with us. March 21st, we did a pilot program for our home delivery service. So we wanted to ensure that our seniors who are the most susceptible to the COVID-19 virus could stay home. So we did about 30 deliveries that day. And I remember Miguel saying, we're going to scale it up. This is going to be huge. And just to tell you a little bit about how much we've scaled it, we've done over 10,000 home deliveries in a little over a month now. And the program was so successful that in the second week of the program, we launched our grab and go meals as well. We're averaging about 3,000 a day of those meals, so about 15,000 meals that we're handing out, prepackaged meals for families in need. And I really want to take this opportunity to introduce the next gentleman who has been just one of our strongest partners. As Daisy mentioned, we've partnered throughout the year, different community events. So when this opportunity came up, it was a no-brainer, and it was easy to pull the partners together. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Cesar Armendariz, who's a Community Integration Executive for Adventist Health White Memorial. And he's been instrumental in this partnership and helping us secure some key partners to provide support for the homeless. And just a little fun fact, Adventist Health White Memorial is the only hospital in LA County to ever receive the Malcolm Baldrige Award. So Cesar, please take it away.
All right, hey, thank you, Mario. Appreciate the handoff, and hello, everybody. Good evening. So we're happy to collaborate, and we're happy to be partners on this. And obviously, it's a passion of love for the hospital. And this could have easily been done. You know what? We could not have done this at all if it wasn't for the existing relationships and collaboration. It really does take, as they say, a village. It takes a team. And the people that came before me, Miguel Santiago, Daisy, and Mario, they're the real rock stars. I'm happy to be a support behind it. And it was literally, I'm looking at the clock right now, it was literally 6 weeks ago today that we started our very first deliveries. And it was literally about 7 weeks ago that we were at the Milpa, Mario, Daisy, and I, thinking what we could do, knowing what was coming. So it's been a collaborative effort. As Daisy had mentioned, we have done some work in the past around Thanksgiving, around Christmas and toys. So it's really a family team. And so when the call comes, we just answer it. And so when COVID-19 started began, and this is prior to the stay-at-home orders, before LAUSD sent the kids home, we started putting our heads together and say, how do we get around it? How do we fill the gaps to our most vulnerable? And we decided to target the seniors that need to stay at home, right? We can't be sending them out to get food. They need to be at home. They're most vulnerable. Our homeless population, as well as many of the wage earners that lost their jobs and the families. So we were happy to collaborate and participate. And there's really 2 additional programs that we've launched. And the Y has been an amazing partner, how they quickly repurposed with the great vision they had. And at the same Y, 2 beautiful programs. One, the Shower of Hope. If you're not familiar with them, they're now the largest mobile shower providers here in LA and LA County. And the hospital, we're very proud to partner with them. I had the pleasure of being a founding board member, and it was great to bring them on board. So now we have that hygiene component there at the Y as well. And because of that, we decided, okay, well, we need to incorporate warm meals with it. So Daisy was so kind enough to cook up the first 50 warm meals for our first shower users, our first consumers, you can say. And those warm meals have a great story behind it too, because there's a wonderful organization of the Central Valley called Gleanings for the Hungry. They're a faith-based organization, and it's a co-op, a collaborative of farmers in the Central Valley that take all this food collected, and it goes around the world, Africa and all over, to feed the hungry and the homeless. So the first time in over 10 years, I decided to do a local domestic mission, and we're blessed here in East LA Boyle Heights that they gave us a trial run. And so the meals that were provided to everybody from the Skid Row Housing Trust on Monday, it was the same soups that Daisy wonderfully and beautifully prepared again, that were prayed for and blessed upon by this group. And we're happy to say that because they were so impressed with the operations at the YMCA, so impressed with Daisy, the head of global missions for Adventist Health came down and spent a day, that we've secured now 8 tons of this food, which will serve over 450,000 meals per month. And that's just a shout out to Daisy and Mario and to the assembly member for really all the work they've done. And we're just happy to be a part of it. And our best wishes and prayers to all of you. Really quick, since Mario did mention the Malcolm Baldridge, for anyone who's wondering what that is and why he mentioned it, it is an honor and a blessing too that here in just down the ways from Skid Row and they're in downtown LA and Boyle Heights, that the White Memorial is the only hospital in the history of LA County to ever win this award. And it's actually a presidential award. It's the highest award for quality excellence and given. And so for a safety net hospital there in East LA to have been the only county to win it, it's quite a blessing. So just know that if you ever need any care, you've got award-winning care just down the way. And so with that, thank you everybody and peace. And we look forward to continuing to serve you and work with you all. Good night and God bless.
Thank you, Cesar. So now I'm going to put up some other slides for next week. We'd love to hear from you. If you have anything, please send us an email at info@skidrow.org. Also, we'll do this again next week at 6:30. Here are the details. We'll send an email out additionally with that. And with that, for the Q&A, if you have any questions you'd like to be covered, please type them in the speech bubble or send an email to info@skidrow.org. We'll do that, and then if we have time, we'll take questions via phone. And with that, I'd like to introduce Jet, who's going to manage the Q&A.
Hi, everybody. I know that I've seen a couple of questions in the chat about building hygiene issues, and we have actually been working on that today, and really tirelessly in the background. And so that's really our big theme for next week. But I'll let Lee just give you kind of a sense of that. And then we'd be happy, if you email your specific questions to info@skidrow.org, I'll personally take care of getting the answers for you. Lee, do you want to just give an overview of hygiene?
Yes. So when we kicked off these calls about 2-3 weeks ago, we had prioritized some of the needs that were happening at the time. And the two themes that came up was food, and the second was hygiene. So what we did at the time was we tried to get out as many masks and gloves that we could get out to our community of employees and residents, and then immediately went to prioritize food to make sure that people, as they sheltered in place, had the ability to eat, since they were not able to leave their environment. And then when the shelter communities that oftentimes fed the communities had to shut down because some of their COVID cases, we knew that it was ultra urgent to get food out into the community as well. We are currently in the process of gathering the hand washing stations that are just in their final stages that will be deployed out in front of each of our properties in a collaboration with LA Can. In addition to that, we are expected to receive more masks, more gloves, and more sanitizers tomorrow, Saturday, and Monday. And those are all going to be grouped up and distributed next week. So we'll have a lot more details around that collaboration and that network specifically. And we just want to make sure that we got food kind of moving in motion first, and then our hygiene kits are going to be moving second. So thank you for those questions. And we will definitely be following up with those people that posted those questions, and we'll have more information early next week, and we'll have a really big update next Thursday.
Thanks, Lee. I also have a follow-up question for you about KO's presentation on the first call. You have Corey asking about building security.
So one of the key items that often gets brought up as it relates to some of the highest needs is around security in Skid Row and in our properties, specifically in the evenings and on the weekends. We started partnering about a week and a half ago. This has been an ongoing topic, for years, but we did reintroduce a lot of the needs, to some of our partners that have access, to that. And we are applying for grants and funding and resources as it relates to security. Some of the things some of the key partnerships that we're working with are some of the investors, the lenders that oversee some of the contractual obligations on the properties. And we're trying to figure out how can we get more monetary support so that we can place security in the highest risk buildings first, and then continue on to those that are in need also. So that is being fought, very diligently and very hard at a federal resource level, at the state level, at the county level, at the city level, to make sure that we have resources can pay for the security and make sure that we keep bringing this front and center and awareness. We are aware of the increase of people coming in and just wanting to find shelter in our buildings, which is not fair to our residents. So we don't have enough information to give updates on that yet, but there's a team of about 7 people that are focused on that, and we should have more information in the next probably 5 to 10 days around what we can do. But just, I think everyone knows the need, and one of the things that everyone just kind of has to understand is how big of the fight for resources are happening behind the scenes as well.
Thank you, Lee. I don't have any more questions at this time, but I really would like to take this opportunity to thank you and Miguel and Daisy and Mario and Caesar for really sharing what an extraordinary thing everybody pulled together this week. We're very grateful to have been part of it. And for our regular followers, I know that you all know that we do give you different opportunities to take action, and we would love your help sharing our stories and sharing our calls to action with your friends. Skid Row Housing Trust, as with every service provider and every person really, is in need of additional funding. We've had extraordinary expenses associated with making sure that we are providing hazard pay to our frontline team members and finding supplies and providing laptops so that people can work from home. And so any direct financial support is vital to us right now. We also ask that you advocate. And if you click the link on your screen and say that you support additional emergency funding for Skid Row Housing Trust, that helps us connect with teams like Assemblymember Santiago's who are making policy and funding decisions. Our Amazon wish list items were prepared by our Health and Social Services group. Those are things that they have asked for that they think are helpful for residents, and they base that on a survey of resident requests. Lee mentioned at the top of the call that we are working out the final details of volunteering virtually. We're all very, very inspired that so many of you have signed up, and so grateful that so many people are sending us masks. And then if you're not on our mailing list, we would love for you to join our mailing list. And that's really the key way that we communicate what we're doing and create these kinds of invitations. So thank you for participating in our call tonight. And thank you for your interest in our work and our team members and our residents and our unhoused neighbors.
Thank you everyone for joining, and we look forward to seeing you next week.